Two Geeks TV.
This is Two Geeks TV.
You are watching Two Geeks TV.
Hi gang, Mean Gene Okerlund from World Wrestling Entertainment, WWE, and you're watching Two Geeks TV. It's all over the place. YouTube, it's on your computer. You'll even find it in the shoebox in the closet.
Hey, I'm Trish Stratus, and this is Two Geeks TV. Keep watching because Stratisfaction is guaranteed.
Whoa! That's pretty good hoeing, fellas.
Thanks.
Hi, this is Sean from Two Geeks TV. I got with me the living legend, the one, the only, $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase.
Good to be with you, man.
Ted, I followed your exploits for many years myself. I'm a major fan of wrestling since the 1970s. And I have to admit, you're one of the most decorated wrestlers there is today. Last time I checked, you have up to 30 titles under your reign from tag team and such. My question is, what is your particular favorite time of title reign that you can remember?
Well, in reality, title reigns are in wrestling are. I mean, it's show business, so it's like titles don't really mean they're props. So I can't say that there's any particular title reign that stands out to me. That I was I guess the title that I created, the $1 million title, because in reality, that angle in the WWF, as was known then, where I don't win the WWF World title at WrestleMania 4 and then create my own title in my arrogance, that belt and that title, over the tenure of my stay in the WWF as that character made me more money than had I been any of those other championships. So, I guess you would say that title meant the most to me. But, and if I had it all to do over again, I don't think I'd change any of that. I mean, it's like, people say, aren't you a little bit disappointed that you were never the world champion? I said, well, everybody would like to say they were world champions, but what you're really saying, you're not really the world champion. I mean, because it's a show. It's props. Obviously, but they put capable people in that position. And even though I was considered, it was just that's the way the chips fell at the time. So, and I have no problem with that.
Very good answer. I appreciate that. Very heartspoken. I have to admit, I love where you've taken your life today. My whole family being Christians and so forth, and then you're being a minister to this day. And my previous minister from my other church, Pastor Frank, he also was a wrestler back in the 1970s. Do you see that you can outreach to people now, knowing that your fame that you have built up, it was all leading up to where you are now to help guide people in the near future?
Well, absolutely. I mean, I believe that God allowed me to have all of that stuff and let me take that journey to basically, and that's what I tell people. I said, if I could sum my story up in a phrase, been there, done that, got that t-shirt and wore it out. Basically, my basic message to people is, I've had all the stuff you think will make you happy. I've been famous. I've traveled the world in first class. I've got action figures, and I'm on video games, and I've made a lot of money and all that stuff. And I said, but when I had more of that than I ever thought I'd have, ever dreamed I would have, and certainly not as much as some big major star, but more than most people would ever see, I came to a place where I realized it was meaningless, because in the process of doing that, I had I had a lack of character, I had no integrity. I was, drinking and drugging and cheating on my wife. And when I turned my life around, when I gave my life to Christ, and then put God at the helm of the ship first in my life, and then my family, and redirected my values from Ted and the business to God and family, then the whole dynamic of my life changed. And I'm not the $1 Million Man. I'm not independently wealthy. But what do I have? I have strength of character and I have integrity. I have the love and the devotion of a committed wife. I have the respect of my children. And unfortunately, like so many of my colleagues who aren't able to do this, I'm able to watch my grandchildren grow up and be a part of their lives today.
Hallelujah, hallelujah. Just one final question I want to ask you right now is that being that you have been from the beginning to the end, now your 3 boys are now in the industry. Was there any major word of wisdom you had for them going into this?
Well, my boys all tried the industry, and none of them are in the industry now. My oldest boy is my prodigal. My son Michael is 37 going on 12. But I just keep praying that one day God will open his eyes. He's not wrestling though either. He's living in Texas, and he's not living a godly life. My son Ted, actually, when his contract came up, he declined. They wanted to re-sign him, and he said no thank you, because he realized after he got married and had a child that the amount of time that the wrestling business would require of him wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth the amount of, he says, Dad, at any price, he says, I said, I'll end up like John Cena. I'll be divorced. And so he's out. And my youngest son, Brett, he was out before he ever got, and he was very talented, but he ended up having 4 knee surgeries and a neck fusion in 2 years while he was in training. And so so my prayer was answered. None of my kids are wrestlers. Now, it doesn't mean I don't love wrestling. It means I loved what I did in the ring. I said, but all that stuff that comes along with it. Because back in the 80s and the early 90s, when we were on the road, we were much like rock stars. And it was the same thing. It was the next town, the next show, the next party, the next girl, da-da-da-da-da. Yep. And, I finally came to that place where when I got caught in adultery, I had to look in the mirror and go, what are you doing? And by the grace of God, I got my life right with God, and I've turned myself around. But the only reason I can tell you that I'm still happily married is because of my wife's decision to give me a second chance, which just blows me away, even to this day.
Well, thank you very much, Ted. It's truly an honor, and you're a very enlightening man, and I appreciate this very much.
Thank you.
Sean for 2 Geeks TV, and my partner has one question. I'm sorry.
Just want to add, please follow $1 Million Man, official ministry website, heartofdavidministry.com. I'll be posting that on our links webpage, and official website, $1millionman.com. It was a pleasure, sir. Thank you very much.